I'm going to call to order the meeting of the East Brandywine Township Board of Supervisors PM meeting Thursday, May 21st, 2026. It is 6:30 p.m. Agenda: a recording device will be in use during this meeting. We will open the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So, public comment for agenda items. Rules for conduct of public meetings established by Resolution 2001-08. The time allocated to each individual making a comment shall be 3 minutes unless otherwise set by the presiding officer. Additional public comment may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer at the conclusion of the meeting. Do we have any comment on agenda items? Seeing none, we will move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have any comments on those minutes? Any discussion? Seeing none, do I get a motion to approve the May 7th, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes?
So moved.
Do I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Treasurer's report, authorization to pay bills and approve payroll. Do we have any discussion on that? Any comments on payroll and authorizations? Seeing none, do I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, reports. We'll begin with the Township Manager's report. Luke?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have just one item to report on this evening. County Bridge number 134, which is the North Reeds Road Bridge over the east branch of the Brandywine Creek in East Brandywine Township, joining us with Upper Euclid Township, will be closed until further notice. On May 19th, a routine inspection revealed the need for priority repairs. Due to safety concerns for travelers, in accordance with PennDOT guidelines, the county bridge engineer recommended closing the bridge. The Department of Facilities and consulting engineers are developing a plan and repairs on the existing bridge, which will start as soon as possible. That said, the long-term plan is a full bridge replacement. Due to the age and condition of the structure, the bridge has been in design for full replacement. Preliminary engineering is currently underway, and the Department of Facilities anticipates construction to begin in 2028. That bridge is built in 1939 and is an 86-foot steel multi-beam bridge supported by stone abutments. And about 887 vehicles use that road per day. That is the extent of my report.
Okay, thank you, Luke. We'll move on to the Assistant Manager's report. Noah?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. A couple things for me. First, staff has submitted an application for PADP 902 grant funding. This application is seeking reimbursement for the costs associated with the township's recent recycling program improvements. If you'll recall, we purchased 700 additional 64-gallon East Brandywine branded recycling carts earlier this year that totaled $37,450. The grant, the DEP funding would cover 90% of that, which is $33,705, and it would also cover the ordinance, or the legal and the advertising fees associated with the Chapter 218 ordinance update as well. So in total, if awarded with this grant, we would receive $35,505 to cover both the toters and the legal and advertising fees associated with the ordinance change. The next item is the Bondsville retaining wall project update. I know last meeting we had talked about tree removal with the Bondsville Mill retaining wall project. We did have a pre-con meeting today. JD Ekman has been selected as the contractor for that project, and they were issued a notice to proceed effective May 26, 2026. They have reiterated that the tree removal will be the first step in the work, and the work will begin in mid-June, and it is expected that they will complete their work on November 24th, 2026. And I will say, for residents who are interested in learning more about the project, PennDOT has this project on their website under District 6 projects titled Bondsville Retaining Wall Project. Another item, township social media accounts. Recently, due to a technical issue with Meta, our township's previous Facebook page was disabled, but we did create a brand new Facebook page as well as an Instagram account to improve digital communication, increase resident engagement, and try to provide more frequent township news, project updates, and event information. Residents are encouraged to follow the new Facebook and Instagram accounts. And then for Parks and Rec, the All Abilities Inclusive Playground fundraiser. Parks and Rec has recently launched a community fundraising campaign in support of the All Abilities Inclusive Playground at the community park. As part of this campaign, an anonymous donor has generously offered to match every dollar that is donated throughout the fundraising period, which will greatly impact the community contributions. At the same time, residents who donate $1,000 or more will be recognized with a donor plaque at the community park. And we've been promoting this through the website, social media, and community outreach efforts. Residents have until June 30th to donate. And then my last item, it's the final time I'll have this in our report. It's the America 250 Student Art Competition update. The Historical Commission has decided to extend their deadline to May 31st, 2026. We have received enough submissions to recognize a top 3 within each participating grade group, grades 3 to 5, grades 6 to 8, and grades 9 to 12. Unfortunately, we have not received any submissions for the K through 2 category at this time. And we just want to reiterate that the 9 total winners will be announced on June 11th when the Historical Commission votes, and it will be announced on the township website and social media platforms. As a reminder, we'll also have a People's Choice voting to select the best piece of art overall. And then we will have the Board of Supervisors Award that will be announced at the June 18th board meeting. Submitted artwork is available for public viewing on our township website underneath the Historical Commission's page. If you go to America 250 Student Art Competition and then select the student art submissions. And I have included a few submissions down below for those interested in viewing. And then I do want to say one other thing. The East Brandywine Food Truck Festival has graciously offered to host the Historical Commission's award ceremony on July 11th, 2026 to honor all 9 winners, including the People's Choice and Board's Choice. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah. We'll move on to the township building inspection report. I'll read that into the record. We have total building permits issued are 59, total zoning permits are 4. Fees collected for building zoning permits is $226,812.95. So the total use and occupancy was 23. Inspection completions are 249. Failed inspections are 21. Other fees collected are $1,667.50. Total fees collected is $228,480.45. All right, have any questions on that? We will move on to the Township Roadmaster report.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the board. I just wanted to give some brief updates on some of the projects we've been up to. The first up is park roof repairs. This year we completed repairs to the Bond Pavilion. The old shingle roof was removed. Numerous rotten tongue and groove boards were replaced, and a new metal roof was installed to match the Craft Pavilion roof, which was replaced last year. The Tara and Allison Pavilion roofs are on schedule to be replaced in the coming weeks, and similar repairs are needed for each roof. I would like to thank my team for a job well done. We completed the roof and all other weekly tasks without getting behind. Having a full staff of great employees truly makes a difference. Next up is a cross pipe on Raleigh Drive. The week of June 8th, the road department is planning on replacing a cross pipe on Raleigh, located near Spital Park. Replacement is expected to take approximately 2 days to complete, and that portion of the road will be closed while work is taking place. The pipe being replaced is a 34-inch elliptical corrugated metal pipe, 46 feet in length, with the bottom rotted out. This will be the second replacement of this pipe. The first took place in 2004. Unfortunately, corrugated metal was used due to its lower costs over concrete pipe at the time. We are installing a 30-inch HDPE pipe, which is a plastic pipe, with an expected lifespan of at least 50 years. Overall costs of the project are expected to be under $4,000. Next up is crack sealing. Recently, the department finished crack sealing the township's roadways. Crack sealing is a pavement preservation technique. It involves blowing out the cracks in the roads with compressed air and filling the void with hot tar. Although a tedious and sometimes unsightly process, it is critical to preserve the integrity of the road by keeping water from penetrating the base underneath. This year, we sealed approximately 11 lane miles of township roads using approximately 2.5 tons of material. And lastly, I wanted to give you an update on our 26 road program. This year's paving project will consist of North Buck, Crawford, High Spire, Summer Hill, and Marshall roads. North Buck, Crawford, and High Spire all receive base repairs as the roads are failing in many areas. North Buck and Crawford will also have paving fabric applied, followed by an 1.5 inch asphalt wearing course, and that would bring the roads to a like new condition. Marshall, Summerhill, and High Spire will receive a double chip seal followed by a fog seal. And these treatments should extend the life of the road by a minimum of 6 to 8 years and possibly much more. It's also about a quarter of the price of an overlay. Currently, township roadways are evaluated using the PASER method. It is based on the characteristics of defects which are visually apparent in the roadway. It utilizes ratings of 1 through 10, 10 being the best and 1 the worst. I am happy to say the majority of our roadways are 6 and above, and I would like to thank my predecessor, Matthew Van Loo, for initiating our road program and its progression through the years. Bid documents for this year's project are now finalized and will be advertised in the Daily Local this following Monday, and full details will be available on PennBid. That's all I have. Respectfully submitted, Derek Cost, Township Roadmaster.
Thank you, Derek. We'll move on to the East Brandywine Township Police Department report. Sergeant Lemus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Chester County officially transitioned to new Motorola radio platforms, and the police department successfully deployed the new portable radios to all sworn personnel. Mobile radio installations are scheduled for completion by the end of May, which will finalize the department's full migration to the new countywide system. The department completed its annual evidence room audit and full inventory in April. All items were verified, reconciled, and reviewed for compliance with retention and documentation standards. The audit concluded with no issues to report. The monthly statistics for the month of April of 2026 include the following. The East Brandywine Police Department had a total of 2,255 events. We had 178 investigations completed, resulting in 10 arrests, 10 criminal arrests, 5 summary arrests, and 1 warrant arrest. We conducted 10 accident investigations. We conducted and completed 274 traffic stops, which resulted in 118 traffic citations being issued, with 41 written warnings being issued. There was a total of 8,885 patrol miles that were logged. Some training that was completed in April. There were several essential trainings initiated tied to annual certification requirements and recent equipment upgrades. All sworn personnel successfully completed defensive tactics certification, reinforcing core skills and control techniques, de-escalation, and officer safety. The department conducted portable radio training following the deployment of the new radio system. Officer DePaulo completed a firearms instructor certification, expanding the department's internal training resources and supporting long-term succession planning within the firearms programming. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the East Brandywine Fire Company report.
Good evening. We had 64 total incidents for the month. 26 were fire, 38 were medical. We had 12 fire and 15 medical in East Brandywine, 11 fire and 22 medical in West Brandywine, and 1 medical call in Upper Euclid. We had an average personnel per response for 9 and 24 for major incident types. We used 204.5 gallons of East Brandywine Township fuel. We used 10 gallons of West Brandywine fuel for a total of 214.5 gallons of fuel for the month. We had 1 fire, which was estimated, the estimated fire damage for that was $350,000 in the township. And we conducted 4 trainings for the month, average personnel of 21 for a total of 168 hours of training. One last thing that I do have is the new engine is in, and I am glad to report that it is almost finally complete. The only thing we're waiting on is a couple updates to the radio software and the GPS for the truck. So other than that, you should be seeing it on the road here in the next couple weeks. So we're pretty happy about that.
Great.
That's all I got.
Thank you. So we're looking for the Minnequist ambulance report. I don't see anyone from Minnequist here tonight. Do we want to table this?
Actually, Mr. Chairman.
Have them read it in next time they're here?
Right, what's provided in your packet is actually their financials. Not included would be their calls for service and their
Okay.
breakdown, so it would be appropriate to table it for next month.
All right. We will do that. All right, so we will move on to old business. We have the Solid Waste Authority update, field findings and potential pathways to automation readiness. Noah?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So since I love PowerPoint so much, I figured I'd create another one just to give the board a visual of the field findings and potential pathways to automation readiness. If you recall, during our previous February Board of Supervisors meeting, the board had authorized the assistant manager to conduct field observations and take a look at the township's current level of automation readiness. At the time, we had 2 potential options, and that was a resident-owned transition or a 50-50 program. Following completion of the field assessment, I presented findings to the Budget Committee during our May 14th meeting for discussion and their recommendation. And what I wanted to do was provide the recommendations to the board and then look at those potential pathways and see if we can get clear direction or if this is something that we want to table and have potentially further research done before making a decision. Seem to be having some technical difficulties.
Little technical difficulties caused by me, apologies.
Previous presentations, we decided that they're going to get the road cans. Everyone will be buying road cans for trash. Right. I thought that's what we agreed to. I think they were going to do PowerPoints on the
Okay. So just to go over quickly the purpose, we wanted to share the findings with the board. We wanted to compare and look at another municipality who's also not automation ready and the impact that it had on their waste hauler contract for years 2026 to 2030. Want to present the Budget Committee's recommendations, possibly have a discussion about those recommendations, and then receive further board direction based upon our discussion. So being out in the field for the past 2 months on Tuesdays looking at trash cans all throughout the township, what we have seen is an estimated 70 to 75% of residents currently appear to have carts that could withstand automated collection, meaning that they can withstand a hydraulic arm picking them up and then loading them into a trash truck. If we are talking 30%, that means around 1,100 units have non-compatible carts. If we are saying 25%, that means around 915 units have non-compatible carts. One thing I wanted to do is look at a similar township who's also not automated ready and see the impact that it had on their contract for this year. West Whiteland Township, similar to us, received a letter from Republic Service stating that they were not bidding on their waste hauler contract due to the fact that they were not automated ready. As a result, they only had 2 bidders. It was AJ Blazinski and JP Mascaro. The result, they saw an 81.7 increase in their hauling costs. Now, I will say West Whiteland has about a little over 6,000 units. We have a little over 3,600 units. So the total price, as you can see for 26 to 2030, would be much higher for West Whiteland, but regardless, the 81.7 increase in hauling costs is still a bit concerning, and that's primarily what the Budget Committee would like to avoid: a low number of bidders leading to less competition and the township losing its financial leverage. So what the Budget Committee has recommended, based upon the field findings, is the first option, and this would be their first priority, a resident-owned transition, or option number 2, a township-wide implementation. And that means that everyone in East Brandywine Township would be getting an automated ready cart provided by the township. I do want to make note that the 50-50 program was not recommended by a single member of the Budget Committee, as they thought that the administrative burden on staff would be too significant. And at the same time, they felt that there would be some equity concerns regarding residents who already purchased compliant carts on their own, and residents possibly wanting to upgrade their carts simply for aesthetic reasons, and not because they need a compliant cart, but because maybe they want one that is a little bit more modern and nicer than the current one that they have. So what I want to do is just go over those 2 options and look at some potential pros and cons. First, a resident-owned cart transition. We had talked about this at the February meeting. The concept is residents would independently purchase approved automated ready carts provided by the township. Some of the benefits would mean there's no large-scale township capital purchase. There's really reduced administrative burden because the township's not tracking distribution. There's no payment tracking. It gives residents flexibility. They can choose their own compatible cart. If they want it green, they can get it green. If they want Schaefer, they can get Schaefer. If they want Toter, they can get Toter. It gives the residents the autonomy to choose their own. At the same time, there is a multi-year timeline here. So we're anticipating our next waste hauler contract to start January 1st, 2030. It's 3.5 years that residents have to purchase a compliant cart. And also, it would avoid the township having to raise refuse fees to cover a large-scale purchase of carts for the entire township. In getting into some concerns, it puts a financial burden on residents. Costs are directly placed on the residents. I will say though, if you look at Lowe's and Home Depot, Lowe's sells 96-gallon toters for $114. Home Depot sells them for $129. And again, depending on what type of toter the resident wants, that price could be higher, it could be lower, but you're looking at the minimum being around $114. There also could be some opposition to the resident-owned mandate, and then there could be some enforcement challenges. How do we enforce if a resident does not have a compliant cart? Does that mean that their trash just simply does not get collected? That's something that we would need to think about, particularly when rewriting the Chapter 218 ordinance. Now, for the township-wide standardized cart implementation, the concept would be that the township purchases and distributes standardized 96-gallon East Brandywine branded carts to all residential properties. And I did include a photo of one of our neighboring municipalities, Callan Township, who have their own branded toters for each residential property. And some of the benefits: the entire township would become automation ready almost immediately. We would improve aesthetics with each cart having an East Brandywine logo, just like our recycling carts. And then also it would be simplified compliance. It eliminates resident uncertainty regarding whether or not they have a cart that is compliant. And then also, again, it puts us in a stronger future bidding position due to us being fully automated ready. Now, concerns, and I did just receive a quote from the same vendor that we have used for our recycling toters on how much it would cost us to purchase 96-gallon toters for the entire township. That cost would be $243,666. So this is a significant upfront capital cost. I do apologize, the quote, it's a little hard to see, but that final number, including shipping, would be $243,666. At the same time, there would be some storage and distribution logistics that would go into it. We would have to store over 3,600 trash carts. We'd have to figure out how to roll them out to the township. It would most likely have to be a phased approach. And then again, some residents already have these compliant carts. We estimate 70 to 70% already do. So then the question becomes, for residents who already have these carts, what are they going to do with them? Most compliant carts are 100% recyclable, so residents could have them out as a bulk item for collection. At the same time, Euclid's township manager, who they went through a process where they did a township implementation, he stated that they communicated to residents that they could use them for storage. It didn't really get a lot of positive feedback from residents, but he did say that that was a suggestion that it could be utilized for storage. And again, with trash toters, I just want to reemphasize this, there really are no grant opportunities for trash toters. It's primarily recycling toters, and that's why we apply for DEP 902 grants, 904 grants. But when it comes to these trash carts, we really, there's no grant opportunity. So this is something where we would have to look at possibly, well, not possibly, we would have to raise refuse and recycling fees if we were to look to do a township-wide rollout. So really, based on all that, the potential next steps, based on the Budget Committee's discussion, the board has several potential pathways. First one, the resident-owned transition. That's the Budget Committee's preferred recommendation. The secondary recommendation is the township-wide cart purchase. At the same time, though, we could look at additional implementation options. There is still the idea of possibly writing this into the next bid specs and having a waste hauler provide the carts, similar to what Public Service did a few waste hauler contracts ago. Or, despite the Budget Committee not being on board with it, we could re-explore the idea of a 50-50 program. Or the fourth option, continue research prior to making a decision. So we could have myself continue to do research, look at neighboring municipal hauling contracts, look at how automation-related pricing impacts those waste hauler contracts. But really, those are the four options. Like I said, we don't need to make a decision tonight, but I wanted to provide an update and inform the board of what we have found by being out in the field, looking at these carts, and then based on the discussion of the Budget Committee, and then get direction from the board based on that.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start with some comments. I know that we had a previous discussion in February, and I think we were leaning towards having the residents purchase their own carts. So that would be option number one on your presentation here.
Yes.
So I'm still feeling that that's the best way to go for the township. We have 75%. That's pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the others will eventually fall into line. What I noticed, and this is from a neighboring municipality, they did all this automation ready, and they put it out to bid, and the automation ready haulers were not the cheapest. So they wound up not even using them, and they went with Lazinski and Whitetail, and they're still having people ride the back of those trucks because they were the low bidders. So that's always the risk you run if you go ahead and do all this and then you put it out to bid and the automation companies don't come in lower. You just kind of were spinning your wheels in a sense. So I think, we encourage people to purchase these automation ready carts, and I think, if you get 75–80% of the residents, as if we go with an automation ready company, then what will happen is those people who don't have those carts just won't get their trash picked up, and eventually they'll get the message.
Yeah.
And I know it's not a good public relations way of going about it, but, you know, I think it'll work itself out. That's just my view. All right?
And when we had talked about this back in February too, because we've spent a lot of time talking about this, because that's one of my worst fears, is that
Yeah.
we require residents to go spend this money and have the inconvenience of getting these carts in their car, because let's be real, they're large, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to get home. And then we don't pick an automation-ready trash hauler because it's not the lowest bid. And so I think in those conversations, Noah, keep me honest, but we're gonna put it up to bid in about June of 2030. If we extend our contract,
2029.
2029, okay, but it would be June.
Yeah.
And my question is, why can't we put this out to the bidders and say, look, you can bid for automation or you can bid for not automation? And we promise that if we pick an automation bid, we will be automation ready. And we put the onus on the companies that we're bidding to then bid both ways, and then we can decide whether we want automation ready or not. And then since 75% of our township is already automation ready, then it wouldn't be maybe as big of a lift in that 6 months then to say if we pick an automation ready company to then get the rest of the township up to.
I think that's a fair approach, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's something worth exploring.
Yeah.
If I may offer additional information or a counterpoint, part of the reason why we're having a conversation now in the second quarter of 2026 for a potential bid spec in 2029 is that we wanted to have a long period of time to communicate the upcoming change to future residents. If we
Plenty of time.
postpone communicating to residents, hey, you've got 3 years to get a new cart, or the next time your cart wears out and you buy another one, please buy one per our specs. Postponing it until June before an implementation in January of 2030, we lose the advantage of having this foresight.
And I think that's a good point too.
Yeah.
But then we can maybe
That works.
communicate and say, we're looking at automation ready. If your trash can breaks, or if you're moving into the area, we're looking at automation ready. You probably should consider getting an automation ready trash can, but it's not required till we actually,
You can put some press release or
yeah.
some communication on the website to let people know that we're looking to do this to improve our bidding position and with regards to our hauler, and hopefully the haulers who are automation ready will come in as the lowest bidders.
Correct. And I would just add to the speculative nature of bidding, the only way that we as administrators can gauge success of a given bid out product is the number of bids we receive. There's always the risk of massive sticker shock due to fuel prices or other labor costs that are unanticipated. But if we get 2 bids and it's a massive increase, believe it or not, that's worse than getting 8 bids and it's a massive increase, because we can demonstrate that we did our diligence in attempting to get the best price for the taxpayers.
I agree.
And I also want to say thanks to Noah for going out and driving around the township to get this data for us.
Of course.
Noah,
Yeah.
how many trash cans was the price of the $200,000? How many was that?
3648.
All right, and then the only other question I had was about the shipping. It was 19,000. So what did that work out for each can ballpark?
So if I go back, each can's price was $61 sales price. So the total for the cans themselves was $224,480. Then plus that shipping would equal the $243,666.
So it's like, what's that?
So then each resident would then be charged for this acquisition. Is that correct?
I think the thought process for the budget committee was we would have to raise refuse and recycling fees to cover that.
Would obviously.
And essentially, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, but if I recall, it would be raising them to plan for this purchase over the next 3.5 years.
Exactly.
So-
So again, the advantage of starting early, one of these options has communication needs that we could use the 3 years to communicate. The other has a capital expense where we could use the 3 years to save up the money. So that's why the early conversation.
So just quick math, it works out to be about five and change for shipping per can. So if we're paying, the township's paying $61, the cheapest one we can find right now is Lowe's at $114. The other option is to go to the residents and say, cut a check to the township for $70, and you just save them $40 a trash can.
That's something that could be discussed with the budget committee. I think the thought process was not charging residents if we did a township-wide rollout, and looking to instead raise those fees to save up for this big capital expense.
So, I mean, one way or the other, you're charging.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, what Kyle's suggestion is that if someone wants to purchase it from the township, that there's a method for them to do that, so that they can get. Now, here's the problem with that, is you're basing this on everybody in the township getting this can. Now, we're talking about having it automation ready, which is, 25%. So now that number may come up because you're not buying the bulk that you initially bid on. So that so that you may wind up in the same financial position of going to Lowe's and buying it as coming to the township and buying it. So you're back to, option one, which is just let everybody get their cans and, we'll be,
And
able to bid it, automation wise.
And maybe not, like, I don't necessarily think we should be providing trash cans for everybody, especially if 75% of the township is already automation ready. However, can we work with the trash haulers, or like, we talked last time a lot about, they have to have extra trash cans sitting there that they're trying to get rid of at a reduced price. Is there a way that we can talk something, not necessarily have the township buy it, but just have the trash hauler be able to go talk to AJ Belinsky. They've got extra trash cans, they can get this, like, you can
buy 'em from
talk
them.
about that.
Almost like a targeted implementation for those who don't have the compliant
Yeah.
parts. So I did reach out to, and he's on this letter for West Whiteland, he was on the letter for us as well. Dominic, don't know how to say his last name, but he said that is something that they don't do. They don't do a targeted distribution to residents. It would have to be a township-wide implementation. So if we were to write the bid specs in a way where the hauler was providing the carts, it couldn't be something where we provide them with a list of addresses of residents who don't have the carts.
But so I don't necessarily care if the bid person, I'm saying this wrong, but the bid company is the one to provide the trash cans. These companies, whether it's Republic, whether it's AJ, whether it's whoever else,
Buy them on the spot.
right, like, they probably have cans
So they
they're
have
looking to get rid
surplus
of.
cans.
And can we just say, would you be willing to sell a surplus can to a resident? It has nothing to do with the bid, it has nothing to do with the contract, just would you be willing to sell some of your surplus to residents?
The last thing I want to do is increase fees to the residents via some sort of tax or trash increase, because essentially that's, let's just let them buy them on their own.
Keep in
Rather
mind,
than the township.
3 years from now, these trash cans are gonna be much more expensive than they are today.
Yeah.
The other option is the township purchases them at the discount rate now and charges every homeowner and gives them 3 years to purchase it, or else it's mandatorily gonna be dropped off and they'll be charged for it. I mean, it's $70. I don't think that's a big ask for somebody for a trash can over the next 3 years.
And maybe that's the question, if we reduce the bid, if we don't, and if we don't need, if we don't need 3,600, if we need 1,100 or the 970 that you had on there, what's the bid look like for that? Does it raise the price of the trash can to more than Lowe's or Home Depot?
But I still think, if you look at everybody's trash cans, I think that the Township's real ones look really nice. They have the green ones, the matching, and it works. I don't think it's unheard of. This is just my opinion, but I don't think it's unheard of to have a township trash can across the board. And again, it's over 3 years. It's not like we're forcing everybody to get it right this second, but they can, it's an investment the township can make, but be reimbursed for it at today's money.
I don't know. I'm not, I just don't want to see us, you know, increasing fees. Because once you increase fees, basically a tax increase. And once that gets out, that's what we're doing, then, you know, it's going to be problematic in my view. I think if we just leave the onus on the resident to get their can and, you know, try to provide them with as much information and direction as we can, and, you know, go from there. It's a small amount that need to get these cans, and I think eventually, you know, by notifying and putting communications out, that people will start getting the cans.
Yeah, and like to Emily's suggestion too, I can also reach out to, you know, waste haulers, see if they have surplus cans that they'd be willing to sell for even cheaper than Lowe's. Again, I think the idea with the resident-owned transition is, as the township, providing as many different vendors as possible so residents can choose the most cost-effective toter for their property. But no problem in doing that. And I think it seems like we're in consensus that the approach is the first suggestion from the budget committee. And if that's the case, then I can start coming up with some communication and marketing plans, start coming up with vendors, and then as soon as possible, putting the word out to residents that this is something that's going to be happening January 1st, 2030.
So at this time, do we want to take a vote that this is the direction that we're going to go in?
Can I add something too?
Sure.
So I am in agreement with the resident-owned transition, but I would like, if possible, to bid this out to the companies by saying do automation ready and do non-automation ready, and see what bids come in, and commit to having the lowest, and commit that if automation ready is the lowest bid, then we would get the township automation ready. But to Luke's point earlier, have the communication going out saying there is a good chance we will go automation ready in 2030. You will, if your trash can breaks, if whatever, and you're buying a new trash can, you should get an automation ready can.
But-
Right.
But
Yeah, and that's fine.
Okay.
Before you,
There's a big difference.
before you guys vote on that, just keep in mind, the trash company's not gonna pick up the trash if they're not automated ready. And then also, the township's gonna get fielded with all those phone calls, and why didn't my trash get picked up? You can do all the social media blitzes you want. People are just thick-headed and they're gonna forget, and they're gonna come down the last minute. It's gonna be a month, probably 2 to 3 months of township fielding phone calls, and why didn't my trash get picked up? So it's gonna be it will be a problem, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it being that, you know, it's part of the business.
Yeah.
Making phone calls. People are gonna learn, you know, basically that, well, I didn't know. Okay, well, now you know. So.
Yeah, and I think, again, having 3.5 years to communicate it,
Exactly.
I think,
So
yeah.
now you've got 3.5 years. You know, when someone does call, you say, well, you had 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm in favor of option one, the resident-owned transition. And, you know, with Emily's comments, you know, regarding, you know, communications and processes and helping the residents, you know, to do the best they can to get these cans.
I'm just gonna add, this is a confession, I suppose. I don't know if I'm gonna remember that in January of 2029.
Yeah.
We.
Well, we're gonna rely on the secretary to get it into the minutes.
Okay, I'll make a note.
Okay, so we're all in favor of this, and we need a motion here, Tom?
Might as well.
All right, so do I get a motion that we're gonna go with option one, residents-owned transition?
I'll make a motion that we're gonna go with the option one, resident-owned transition.
I'll second. All in favor?
Reluctantly, I'll agree.
Aye. All right,
Thank you.
you got that, Mrs. Secretary? Thank you. All right. So next order of business, we have new business with Luke Revenues, Brandywine Center Financial Security Release number 3.
Yes, included in your packet is a recommendation letter from Township Engineer Pannoni. It is regarding the third escrow release for the East Brandywine Center commercial land development. The amount requested to be released of this evening is $248,115.45. If approved, the remaining financial security in this development would be $4,935,221.61. The letter includes the language referencing that the engineer certifies that the improvements have been made based on field visits. There is no rule regarding the frequency of escrow releases, although I will note that 3 releases totaling less than 10% of a total financial is relatively rare for us. But at this time, I would recommend that the board approve this escrow release.
Okay, do we have any questions on this escrow release on the board? All right, so I get a motion to approve the East Brandywine Center Financial Security Release number 3. All right, can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we have no subdivision or zoning applications. We have ordinance and resolutions for consideration. Resolution 7 of 2026, Act 13, funding for McQueen property demolition. Noah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the resolution that you see before you, it's for the flood mitigation program. This grant opportunity was actually recommended by DCED. It was actually an open space member who referred us to a DCED representative. We had a meeting, and they had stated that this program would be the best for the proposed project for demolishing the impervious surface at the McQueen property with the end goal of restoring that site to open space. So the township is requesting through the flood mitigation program $231,121. There's a 15% match required. That would be $40,786.20. This would be funded through the Open Space Referendum Fund. Tonight, staff is asking for authorization to apply for this grant to assist in restoring the McQueen property into passive recreation and open space.
Okay. So with regards to comments, I'll start with some questions about the property. I've been getting several inquiries about what are our plans with this property. Will we be able to provide just a small parking area up by the road so that people can park there and walk the meadows or walk the creek and go fishing or take their kids down to the creek? Because right now, it's just closed off and nobody has any use to the property, and understandably because the way the site is. So is that the long-term goal here, so that the public understands?
Yeah.
You know, as I said, I've been getting numerous inquiries, especially once fishing season hit. A lot of people wanted to park there to go fishing, and unfortunately, we weren't ready to.
Yeah, and that would be the goal. And so with this program, you know, the parking lot that's currently in there is outside of the flood hazard zone. So we would look to demolish that impervious surface that's within the flood hazard zone. But the ultimate end goal would be, yes, it's a passive recreation spot where residents can come in, they can go
Maybe picnic
fishing.
tables. You know.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately the end goal would be that, but the first step is ripping up that impervious surface, restoring it to a more naturalized state, and then with the end goal being, again, passive recreation.
Okay.
What that looks like, I think with the Open Space Committee, we'd have to have conversations.
Okay.
But right now, the first step would be demolishing that impervious surface.
Sure. All right. Well, it's nice to understand, and for the residents to understand what we will ultimately be getting, you know, for you know, our open space acquisition. You know, what uses will everyone have in the community for that area? It's a beautiful area.
Definitely.
And you know, I look forward to the residents being able to use it. I guess, Luke, you were getting ready to pull up some Chesco.
I was wondering if you would want the visual aid, but I
Yeah.
think we've had that dialogue without it, and I didn't want to reach in front of Noah to grab the mouse, and so I have.
Well, why don't you go ahead and pull it up, just
Okay.
for the sake of
I-
everyone understanding the site. And there are several buildings there, there's a swimming pool there, a lot of campsites with macadam.
I will say, just for to refresh everyone's memory, because it does precede Noah joining our team. This was acquired, and at the time of acquisition, there were 3 grants written. 2 grants that would cover the acquisition cost and 1 grant that would cover the remediation of the site. We went 2 for 3 on grant writing. The 2 grants that were received were the Chester County open space grant, as well as the state grant was the other one, and that substantially defrayed the acquisition costs. The 3rd grant was to the state local share fund, or gambling money, LSA fund, and we were unsuccessful in writing that grant. What NOAA has identified, and the resolution before you would give, would pledge our local match for a different source of funds, particularly flood remediation funds, to remove a significant part of the development at the site, to exclude the parking lot you referenced, Mr. Chairman.
Up towards 282 area there. So the buildings would come down, but we would have this area for parking right by the road. That way it's visible for law enforcement to see who's on the property, and if you do picnic tables. And the reason I'm bringing this up is the Brandywine Trout and Conservation Club, one of the oldest conservation clubs in our area, can't stock the Brandywine along that area because they don't have access to it. And you know, once they're able to get that, it's going to be a wonderful recreational area for the residents to enjoy with trout fishing and not camping, but picnicking. So, all right, that's the comments I have. Does anyone else have any comments they want to bring about? So at this time, then we'll look for an approval of Resolution 7 of 2026, Act 13 funding for the McQueen property demolition. I get a motion?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Noah and Luke,
Thank you.
for your work on this. All right, the next order of business is public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have comment? Yes. Is this pertaining to, I guess, the data center? Yeah. Okay, so what I just want to say that at this time we have what's called a validity challenge in front of the board, not a proposal for a data center, but everyone is welcome to make comments and speak at any time and send us emails on this issue, but the board will not be able to make comment because it is a pending legal matter.
But I can still speak.
Absolutely, and we welcome you. Come up to the podium, tell us your name and your address, and we
Where am I going? Right
look
here?
forward to
Right
hearing
here,
from you.
right here.
Right here at this podium.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. My name is Mary Kay Owen, and I reside at 113 Chapel Court, down in town, across the street. And these are my prepared remarks because I felt very strongly about what happened the other morning. In the midst of learning about the possibility of a data center being built in the midst of dense residential properties on Reeseville Road, I drove my doggie, Crazy Daisy, on Tuesday morning to Elverson to get groomed by Stephanie, who has fostered her 7 years ago. Frequently between 3:22 to 82 and then 3:45, I was in awe of the beautiful vistas, the wide open spaces that remain intact, bringing peace and appreciation to any number of drivers and Chester County residents. I also then found myself short of breath while approaching the 401 intersection at the possibility of those magnificent fields ever becoming filled with data centers instead of wildflowers, crops, and cattle. Then I realized that it is the primary responsibility of a township supervisor, maintaining open space and responsible development so that open spaces do not so routinely become something we all regret, as so much has already happened. If township supervisors can look children in the eyes at upcoming township events, knowing that they have done their best to keep those children safe from environmental harm and overdevelopment of their hometown, then they should be proud and have peace with their own legacies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. All right, is there anyone else that would like to make comments on non-agenda items? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Dan Carone, 410 Holman Court, Downingtown, East Brandywine, Guthriesville. I just want to make a few comments. I saw an interesting thing on the news today about the AI Center boom. In Oregon, they're pumping the brakes, so to speak, on development and pausing tax breaks and looking into possible energy demands of these facilities. From 2000 to 2020, 56 centers have been built. In 2026, 142 have been built or under construction. This is Oregon now. A lot of open space there. The town of Hillsborough, small town farming community, there are 18 AI centers built or under construction, farmlands. 17 are proposed to expand or build new ones. This is in Hillsborough Township. I don't know the size of Hillsborough, but it's probably quite large farming area. Residents cite electrical costs, noise, changes, changes in the community's character. The CEO, Ray Mallory, owner of Flexin Chow, which operates 5 facilities in Hillsborough, says many of the concerns stem from a lack of communication. There is a public relations issue, and they haven't done a good job of explaining what DI centers do for communities. City officials cite they are good for the community, leads to more jobs and revenue. My question is how? These centers are huge. They're big industrial buildings. They take up a lot of space, and in a residential area, it's unconscionable. Now, I don't know if you had hearings on this yet.
No.
Okay. Well, you're going to have hearings.
Yes.
You're going to have zoning hearings, planning board hearings. And I can tell you, and I hate to use this term, the hired guns are going to come in on the application to change the zoning on this. And they're going to present a glowing picture of what they'll do for this community. Increase jobs. But they're not going to tell you about all of the doom and gloom. They present everything, everything is going to be fine and dandy, but the doom and gloom will not be explained to you. So I ask this board to just use your conscience, best conscience, in determining what to do with the zoning. It's like, you know, they'll come in and they'll make a point here and a point here, and it's like one of those steers, longhorn steers in Texas. There's a lot of bull in between. And you got to separate the wheat from the chaff in deciding what to do about changing the zoning law. Now, I'm not in favor of it, but I'm not against it. Okay? I'm for innovation, and I'm for progress. And I just ask you all, because you have done such a great job for this community, to use your common sense and make the proper decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Okay, at this time, notices. There was an executive session held on May 7th to discuss personnel matters. Do I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.